Howdy, partner. My name's Tex, and welcome back to another episode of Cooking with Ted. Today we're making chili. I'd like to give a heartfelt thanks to Fudanku for the suggestion. Fudanku said, and I quote, liked, subscribed, make chili. Jesus loved chili. Now whether Jesus, the Son of God, loved chili is a mystery for the ages. But one thing I do know is that the Jesus that I know wanted us all to be kind and to love one another. And what better way to share that kindness and love with your fellow man than with a big heaping bowl of chili? Amen. Folks, if you want to see this old cowboy make more stuff, just drop a like and drop a comment in it down below. If you want to follow along with the recipe, that recipe's down in the description. Alright, that's enough shameless self-promotion. Let's head to the kitchen and get cooking. Now, as a cattle rustler, I find myself rustling up cattle on a daily basis. But all you'll need to do is rustle up some ingredients in your kitchen. Alright, now that we got all of our produce, we're going to begin by chopping up our peppers into little dice. Start with the bell peppers and cut them into little sheets. You're going to cut it straight down the side and get a nice little flat surface to chop into. Then cut that into strips and cut it crosswise to get little dice. Not the devil's dice, mind you. No. These are pepper dice, and these will cook up real nice. Now you're going to want to do the same thing with your jalapeños. But here's the thing with the jalapeno. It's a spicy one, so be careful with them seeds. You don't want to be stumbling into the outhouse after freshly handling some pepper seeds. No one wants that. It's not a pleasant experience. Make sure to wash your hands real good or put on some good old cattleman's gloves before you dice into these. Now that our peppers are diced, we're going to dice up our onion. Now, onion dicing is a little bit different and a little more involved. You want to cut that onion in half root to tip and put that flat surface down on your cutting board to be nice and stable. Then take your knife and cut parallel to the cutting board 3 separate times until you have a little bit of a 1/2 inch slices of onion. Now you're going to take your knife and cut straight down vertically across those slices and then once more towards your hand. Now make sure to keep your fingertips away from the tip of the knife or else you'll be one hurting cowpoke. Slice that into little dice. Again, not the devil's dice, the produce kind that'll cook up real nice. Once you're done cutting up your vegetables, I'd highly recommend looking into finding a local knife sharpener because cutting into these onions was a little bit difficult. Also, another tip, don't scrape your knife across your cutting board. That'll dull your knife real quick. If there's one thing I don't like, it's a dull knife and a dull cowhand. You'll hurt yourself more on a dull knife than a sharp one there, folks, so make sure that you keep those knives nice and sharp. Now we're going to take our garlic and we're going to give it a little peel. Just press those cloves into the cutting board with the flat of your knife or with the heel of your hand and peel that garlic paper off of there. Now don't chop these up. We're going to leave these whole, and you'll see why in a moment. So now we got all of our vegetables prepped. We got our onions and peppers all chopped up nice into dice. Not the devil's dice again. And then we got our garlic cloves nice and whole. So now we're going to heat up our big pot. I'm using ghee here because I just love it. I love a good clarified butter. It adds a nice richness and a lot of fat. Good healthy fat to my meal. But you can use whatever oil you like or whatever you have on hand. You can even use bacon fat or lard if you want. I don't care. Whatever oil you like to use that will make your heart sing would be just right. You're going to heat up that oil in that pot until it's nice and warm and shimmery. And then you're going to add your whole cloves, but don't add any vegetables just yet. We're going to let these cloves cook until they get some nice color and turn just a little bit soft. Once you can mash them up with the flat of your spoon, go ahead and do so. Then add the rest of your vegetables and stir until it's sweating like a horse thief at a rodeo. Salt up them dice until it's nice and seasoned. Once those peppers and onions and garlic are all mixed together and smelling real nice, now we're going to add our meat. For this, I'm using a pound of ground chuck, 85% fat, and a pound of ground bison. I like to mix the two. The bison has a nice lean profile, and the 85% fat meat adds a lovely richness to this beautiful chili. Add the meat and break it up with a flat of your spoon until it's looking nice and brown. So now you're gonna season it. I started with garlic powder, then I added some cumin, some paprika, and a little dash of cinnamon. I also added cocoa powder here. I like that because I just love chocolate. I'm a sweet cowpoke, and Tex, he loves his chocolate. So now that you've seasoned all of your meat and put all of your wonderful seasonings in there, it's time to mix it up and let those seasonings activate in the heat of the cooking meat and vegetables. Give it about 2 or 3 minutes, and now we're gonna add a can of beer. Go ahead and take a sip. Old Tex can keep a secret. Let that beer simmer down until it's nice and incorporated and there's no foam left. Once the beer's all cooked down, we're gonna add a can of crushed tomatoes, 28 ounces. And then you're gonna add about half a can's worth of water and add that back into the pot. Give it a nice stir, and now it's time to add our beans. Those beans can be black beans, garbanzo beans, or any kind of bean that you like. I'm using canned beans here. If you wanted to use some dried beans, that's a whole nother process, and you're gonna wanna make sure that you at least halfway cook them before you add this to the chili. Let me tell you something else old Tex has learned from working with dried beans. If you're not careful, you're gonna wake up with a whole heap of gas clouds in your jammies, and you're not gonna be happy about it. Those beans will make you toot. Beans, a mystical fruit. The more you eat, the more you toot. That is if you don't prepare the dried beans accordingly to cut down on the gas. You just stay tuned for a future video. Maybe old Tex can show you how to prepare beans without committing chemical warfare in your house. Now that you've added your beans, it's time to add about a cup or 2 of low sodium broth. You're gonna see I'm adding spoonfuls of that here because I had a pot of broth going at the same time. But if you wanna use store-bought broth, that's fine. Just make sure you get the low sodium kind so you can manage how much salt is in this chili. If you get the fully salted kind, you can also just season it, and the next thing you know, you have too much salt. And once you have too much salt, there's no going back. So now we're at a beautiful part of the chili. You could dig into it right now, but I prefer, hey, it's the afternoon. Why don't you just let it simmer for a couple hours? That's the thing about this chili, you can let it simmer for a long time. The longer you let it go, the better the results will be. So now it's time to serve it up. Put a little rice or quinoa at the bottom of your bowl, add a couple scoops of chili. I like to finish it with some freshly diced green onions and some sour cream. Then you got dinner, folks. Keep this in the fridge for up to a week. You can also freeze it and it'll stay for at least a month. But let's be honest with ourselves, shall we? We all know once you have chili in your fridge, it's gonna be a hard time keeping that chili out of your mouth. But that's why it's a great meal prep option. Keeps well and it tastes even better the next day. So that's my chili, buckaroo. If you like this video, be sure to leave a comment. If you wanna see old Tex come back to make something else, drop a comment as well and leave a suggestion. Maybe if you have a question for old Tex, he'll answer that too. You take her easy, partner. You take it easy down that old dusty trail. Hello is howdy. Goodbye, bowdy. Bowdy, folks. Take her easy.